We're just putting the string up.
We'll just give you guys some time. Excited. All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Disa Burton, and I'm the Executive Director and Head of School at Zip Code Wilmington. On behalf of the entire Zip Code Wilmington team, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to our Spring 2025 Demo Day, a truly special occasion as we celebrate a major milestone, our 10th anniversary. To our esteemed board members, one of which will be joining us today, thank you for your unwavering guidance and leadership over the past decade. Their vision has helped shape Zip Code into the transformative force it is today. To our dedicated staff, your tireless work, mentorship, and commitment to excellence are the heartbeat of this program. Our staff includes Chris Younger, Director of Education, Dan Stabb, Director of Admissions and Professional Development, Paul Knight, Senior Technical Instructor, Karen Rosano, Adjunct Technical Instructor, Mariah Hunter, Program Administrative Assistant, and Cassie Trujillo, our Career Services Coordinator. Thank you for everything you do to empower our students and strengthen our community. And to our employer partners, we are especially grateful for your presence today, your support, whether through hiring our graduates, mentoring, or sponsoring cohorts, has been instrumental in our success. You are not just partners, you are champions of opportunity, innovation, and inclusive growth. So over the past 10 years, Zip Code Wilmington has grown from a bold idea into a nationally recognized model for workforce development. We've trained hundreds of software engineers, data professionals, and tech leaders, many of whom are now thriving in roles across the region and beyond. You can find out more about our program at zipcodewilmington.com. Today, you'll meet the next generation of that talent. Our students have worked incredibly hard over the past 12 weeks. Today is their moment to shine. You'll see not only their technical skills on display, but also their creativity, resilience, and collaborative spirit. Qualities that make them ready to contribute from day one. So thank you again for being here to celebrate with us. Whether you've been with us since the beginning or just now getting to know Zip Code Wilmington, we're honored to have you here as a part of our journey. As we bring each of our groups to the stage, let's take a moment to level set with our live stream audience about the background and nature of our program. Zip Code Wilmington is a nonprofit software coding immersive training program. We help adults average age 30 learn in depth the technical languages and frameworks needed to become software developers and data engineers. And then we help place them with employers, including local employers like some of the folks you see seated here. Our program is 12 weeks and it's very intense. Students will complete an average of 80 to 100 hours of work each week during the first 10 weeks in order to be at a level where they can spend a whole lot of time building the applications you're about to see here during Demo Day during the last 2 weeks, the end of their training. So we'll get started. Let's make Demo Day one to remember. The first demonstration will be made by several members of our graduating Java software developer program. The first group presenting today has an app called Cross-Key Communications. It is a news aggregation platform with real-time updates using a tech stack of Java, CSS, MySQL, Spring Boot, React, and more. Please note at the end of each presentation there will be a QR code where you can go to their GitHub and see the code developed by each team for their projects. For those that are online, For those that are here, you'll be actually able to speak one-on-one with them and see their code in person. With that introduction, Cross-Key Communications.
Good morning. My name is Christian Thomas. Before Zip Code, I was a health and physical education teacher.
My name is Connor Casey. Before Zip Code, I was a youth ice hockey coach.
My name is Tanika Sharma. Before Zip Code, I was a freelance digital marketer. And we are Cross-Key Communications, an innovative news platform that aggregates headlines from multiple sources using open APIs like museapi.org. Unlike the traditional platform that rely on a single provider, Cross-Key Communication delivers a broad and unbiased view of current events in one centralized app. Me and my team, we have worked together on both the front end and the back end. On the back end, we have used RESTful APIs and Spring Boot architecture. We have worked together to establish our application's backbone of fetching and delivering real-time headlines. I have also implemented category entity, which help organize all the articles in a refined structure. On the front end, using React with JavaScript and CSS, I have developed custom header and footer, ensuring the brand consistency and responsive design. I have also designed image slider using React Slip to elevate visual experience on the home page. To help my category entity, I have made all the categories clickable using React Router, ensuring easy navigation. With all these, I have structured everything inside the app component and styled it using inline CSS and Flexbox. All these foundational components help set the structure for users' interactions. Now, I will hand it over to my teammate Connor, who will tell you more about how users interact with articles.
Thank you, Kanika. When you see an article on our headlines page that you're interested in, clicking the card from the grid will allow you to view more details about the article. Together, we streamline the user experience so that you're never redirected from our app, and you don't need to have multiple tabs open. To do this, I built the article view using React Router's dynamic routing. This allows each article to open its own unique URL without refreshing the page. Here, you can read more from the article to grab your attention on the headlines page to view more details about it. Below each article, we created a comment section where users who are signed in can share their thoughts. The comment is sent through our React front end to our Spring Boot backend using a post request. The comments are then mapped to the article to our MySQL database, and these features allow us to save the conversation so that you can revisit it later. Users of Cross-Key Communications are encouraged to interact with each other and build communities with our comment features. Now, to talk about the data persistence and demonstrate the Save Comments feature, I'm passing it to Christian.
Thanks, Connor. My role focused on comment handling and connecting all layers of the stack together. On the back end, I use Java and Spring Boot to fetch live data from museapi.org. We then built DTOs to parse the JSON structure. We later persisted this data to our MySQL database using JPA. The comment viewer, under each article, displays submitted comments and saves them in real time. We have included an embedded article source to store the source name and ID. We use React to build a dynamic, user-friendly interface. Articles are displayed in the grid. Users can click in each article for a deeper read. We integrated React Router for navigation, including use location and use navigate hooks to ensure state and smooth page transition. With cross-communication, you can trust your sources and contribute to the conversation. And at this time, we would love to answer any questions you might have.
As the audience considers questions, why don't I draw the first one? So, tell us how you used AI in developing this application.
Sure. So, personally, I used AI when the code wasn't functioning the way I expected it to. Maybe there was a syntax error that, because I wrote it, I wasn't really catching because I thought I wrote it correctly. So instead of sitting there and trying to dig through all the hundreds of lines of code that we wrote, I thought, why not just put it into to ChatGPT and have it find that error for me and save myself and my teammates a lot of time.
Yeah, we had a very limited development window. We had to build this within a span of 2 weeks. And while doing that, we had a lot of different technological frameworks that we needed to learn in a very short period of time. And so I used ChatGPT to help explain some of the different frameworks that we were using so that I could better understand them before I implemented them into the project.
As I agree with my teammates, I also used AI for helping me understand React within 2 weeks. It was very short amount of time, and I learned everything that is useful for our project using AI.
Okay, wonderful. Questions from the audience?
First of all, do you want us to just project, or do you want us to use
I can read,
Okay, you'll
Yeah.
great. So there's usually a feature that falls on the floor right before demo that you don't quite get to. So what's like the thing you wanted to finish that didn't end up in the presentation?
so something usually falls on the floor when you're preparing for a demo. So what was the thing that you wish you had finished that you were not able to do?
So yesterday, it was suggested to us that maybe a summary of the article would be printed instead of just having the title here, maybe below have a summary of that article generated by AI.
Fair enough.
Yeah, one of the other features that we wanted to implement would have been being able to save the articles so that you can view them later. Instead of just having the headlines page and the favorites, we wanted to try and make it so that if you had a certain provider that you were more interested in than others, you could save those as well so that you could view from your preferred sources.
And adding to these, also we were trying to get online updated stock visuals here. So I think we will be done with it within 2 days, maybe by next week. So we were trying to get all the stock, latest updates on our website.
Thank you.
Yes, Earl.
Can you talk a little bit about how you used your database in this project?
Can you talk a little bit about how you used your database in this project?
So we used our database to try to save as much information as we can, whether it's the article ID, the user ID, the comment ID, and the comment itself. This way, we could go back and really make that, well, that's the only way we could have made everything work together, so that we could use the ID, link it to the comment, and then find whoever posted that comment with that ID in the database.
When we make the API call to newsapi.org, we take that information and store it into our database first so that we can cache those articles, and we display the most recent ones posted from the database, from our database rather than from the API call directly.
First also we were using H2 console, then we decided to use MySQL for it, which was like more smoother, more easy to use, and we can also update whatever we want to directly into our terminals. So it was easy to fetch and means like to import things from the back end to the front end.
Other questions?
Yeah, I have one. Can you tell me what kind of security decisions you made when writing your code? You're accessing APIs, you're accessing database. What did you put into your code to keep it safe?
What type of security decisions did you make when you were writing your code? What did you put into it?
So, as we're the admin, we wanted to add in, when we started to approve users, to make sure that they hash their passwords so that it's not as easy for them to be stolen.
Everything is running locally currently, so we are not on the web. So when we make the API call, that information goes to an endpoint from our Spring Boot that is hosted locally on our computer, and we bring the information to our database from that.
Also, we are using Spring Boot. So Spring Boot gives us already the safety things and safety measures in it, which is inbuilt measures in it with annotations and everything. And also we have tried to introduce the error handling in our codes, which helps us with any error or any security issues.
Great. All right. Well, Thank you so much, Frosty Communications. As we transition to the next demonstration, we would like to introduce to you graduates of our data engineering program. This program was launched at Zip Code in 2020 in response to employer demand for data engineers. Data engineers support data scientists. They are more than just analysts. They can manage the entire data life cycle, including data collection, ingestion, storage, transformation, analysis, and delivery. From sourcing raw data to ensuring it's clean, structured, and accessible, data engineers build the pipelines and platforms that make data usable. They ensure data flows securely and efficiently from its origin to the hands of decision makers and data scientists, enabling insights, innovation, and impact at every stage. We have now completed and graduated 10 cohorts of data graduates. So we're excited to present to you today the 11th data engineering cohort with their presentation called Muse Dash. Muse Dash is an analytical media platform which streams insights using a tech stack of Python, Apache Spark, Streamlit, AWS S3, and more. And again, at the end of each presentation, there will be a QR code where those folks online can go to the GitHub and see the code developed by each team. Now, Muse Dash.
Good morning. There you go. Good morning. I'm Angelica Brown. Prior to Zip Code, I worked at Kohl's as a retail associate.
Hi, I'm Isaiah Armstrong. Prior to Zip Code, I worked at Penn Medicine as a tech support specialist.
Hello, I'm Kunle Adeyanju. Prior to Zip Code, I worked as an education co-director at Mathnasium.
My name is James Heller. Prior to Zip Code, I was an operations specialist for Medscope America, and we are the data team for Spotify, a music streaming service in its first year, and we are proud to present Muse Dash, music metrics at your fingertips. Our data set is hosted on an Amazon S3 bucket, and the dashboard, generated on Streamlit, dynamically pulls the most recent listening event data set. And the data set was double encoded, so we did design a two-part encoding process. My dashboard responsibilities included the top 10 artists and comparing free versus paid users. The functions will default to national, accepting a state when given. Marketing can now make informed decisions based on campaign artists and identify key areas for paid user growth. Kunle will now go over our mapping feature concerning artist data.
Thank you, James. Muse Dash delivers actionable marketing insights. By visualizing listener popularity across the US and pinpointing key regions for specific artists, we enable well-informed collaborations for our brand and our potential customers. Creating the map required leveraging the Plotly library, along with precisely filtering the database and thoughtfully joining tables. This ensured an accurate representation across all states, including states with no initial activity. Angelica is demoing our bidirectional interactivity. If you select, say, Coldplay, a heat map showing the popularity is generated. If you select a state, say Florida, the other metrics readjust to show you specific information about Florida. All your information is there, just a click away. This arms you with vital information to tailor marketing efforts and forge a reputation of industry savvy. Isaiah will elaborate further on the advantage we provide.
Thanks, Kunle. From a technical standpoint, I optimize our pipeline by caching data from S3 for improved performance with our dashboard. I then use PySpark to filter our paid and free users, then count their song plays. Next, I turn that PySpark data frame into a Pandas data frame in order to use the data visualization package Altair. While national trends show overlap, which allows us to keep tabs on the most popular songs, a state-by-state breakdown reveals variations in what free users are listening to. This insight is exactly what you need for smarter ad targeting, identifying potential niche artist investments, and ultimately converting more of your free users. Angelica will talk about how Muse Dash can help you make better data-driven decisions.
Thank you, Isaiah. By analyzing when and how long subscribers interact with Spotify, marketers can get an insider's look into their target audience. To accomplish this, I created a function updating each instance in a PySpark data frame from free to paid for user IDs who are already subscribers. After some simple aggregations, stark differences emerged. Paid user activity increased 60% since subscribing, and last year, subscribers racked up 7 years' worth of listening minutes more than free. Come take the guesswork out of your next campaign with Muse Dash. Imagine having real-time access to the buying habits of a growing niche of music lovers. With these insights and more in the works, Muse Dash is not another dashboard, but your key to unlocking your superfans. And at this time, we'd love to answer any questions you may have.
So tell us what are you taking from your prior career into your next tech career? Like what key skills or things that you learned from that experience are you going to take into becoming data engineers?
The key thing from my prior work at Kohl's, it was easy to seamlessly come even to Zip Code. Every day at Kohl's, I came in every day on time and worked with the team to accomplish goals piece by piece and bringing it all together into the final product. And this is exactly what I did with what you see here, and I can continue to do that with any of you and any of your teams.
At Penn Medicine, as a tech support specialist, I needed to be able to break down pretty complicated problems and find easy solutions to them. In data engineering, it's a lot of being able to understand the larger parts of data and be able to know what you need to modify in order to get the correct answers.
In addition to what my teammates have said, a lot of math has to do with breaking down complicated problems into their smaller parts. My math degree taught me how to do that with math, and it's about taking that same discipline and doing it to data problems, and I'd love to bring that ability to one of your teams.
My previous 5 years at Medscope America initially began with technical support and then switched over to operations, but both at their cores were always problem solving and troubleshooting, whether or not it was figuring out what was wrong with equipment or figuring out what was wrong with the central system that everyone was using. I still had to break everything down into its smaller components and then make sure that whatever result I had was repeatable. And I see that exact same thing being a data engineer. I have to take whatever problem that's presented to me, break it down to its core components, and then once it's completed, if it's not repeatable result, it's not a valuable result.
Awesome. So, questions from the audience. Chris?
So, are you using more than one data source, and if so, did you have to normalize in any way in order to aggregate?
Are you using more than one data source, and if so, did you have to normalize it? I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm the non-technical person trying to repeat the question.
Surprisingly, our data source, we were given 4 tables, and they were already well normalized, and there wasn't much cleaning or anything to be done to them, which was great. But we had mainly that one source locally to us in the beginning, and we also had the S3 that they're also on.
We needed to be able to change some of the column names just to be able to suit for readability for us. But other than that, we just used one data source, and it worked out pretty well.
In addition to the transformations we had to make, we also had to explore all 4 of the data sources that we were given to decide what would be the best and the most urgent data to show to our stakeholders. We decided on one, and hopefully in the future plan to explore the others to bring more abilities to Muse Dash.
Yeah, when we reviewed the business request for marketing information, it was determined that the listening data set held the most information that we could actually apply to our project. And while, like mentioned by my cohort here, we did make multiple transformations for the data, it ended up being a rather clean data set with minimal interactions that we had to do to try to force it to reach our goal. And so we ended up deciding to focus mainly on that one. And as Kumle mentioned, we are exploring the idea of merging the other data sets as well into a 2.0 version.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Dustin.
A lot of companies have enormous sets of data, but they don't necessarily know what to do with that data. How do you think about presenting the data and providing an intuitive experience for non-technical people to use that data usefully for the companies?
Wow, okay. So a lot of companies have a lot of data sets which they don't always use, but how do you look at those data sets and figure out how to present them in ways that non-technical people can use them? Is that an okay assessment? Okay.
Okay, well, I'll start then. So initially I would have to reach out to the individual and figure out what end goal is there for their data set. So are they looking for more of going into marketing information? Are they looking at how to better serve their clientele? Or is there another example that they're particularly looking for? Once I'm able to build up a large assortment of a story that I'm trying to frame it from, then I'm going to have to get my hands dirty with the data, go through it, see if there's anything that's actually causation and not just a correlation, and then I'm going to try to figure out which visualization will be the best way to present it.
That's one of the biggest reasons that I decided to pursue data as a career. A lot of companies do have untapped potential hidden in the data, and as James said, the first question would be, what's the purpose? What are we trying to find? Do we just want to learn about our customers? Do we want to advance the business? Or are we trying to see what's in there? Being able to explore and understand what we have before then making decisions on what to create and what to visualize. As I said, that's why I want to be a data engineer.
It's also a lot of asking questions. Hey, what do you want us to do with this data? What would you like to get out of it? And as data engineers, it's our job to be able to parse through the data and then figure out, maybe we can use this. How would you like us to apply this? And then figure out how to properly visualize it for our users.
As well as going through the questioning, it's also important to go through the data and find what's actually shocking or something that they might have overlooked. And I think it's more important to find those pain points that they may not have known at the time. But once you look at the data and see, oh, this thing is really missing, or this thing is really stopping us from achieving our goals, I think that's an easier way to visualize when you connect it to a pain that the company might have.
Great. Other questions? These are great questions. Yes.
So many times we are the keepers of the data we get will come from an outside source, and data integrity sometimes becomes a challenge. How do you propose keeping high data integrity for your application?
How do you propose keeping high data integrity throughout your application?
Maintaining like the primary keys, foreign keys, making sure everything is aligned and set up. That's
Making sure that our data is stored correctly and not able to be accessed from any places or people who may have malicious intent.
I think in addition to that, going and seeing how the data is collected at the source is very important. If we can affect or design a better intake way, it will then make everything else that comes after easier and more efficient, because dirty data is useless data, but if we're able to affect how it's collected, we'd be able to do more with it.
I believe actually in Muse Dash itself, we ended up ensuring data integrity. So the data set we received was a rather large data set, and we fed it through PySpark, but the end results that are visualized for us are actually then fed into pandas at a smaller rate. So essentially, once we clean through the data through PySparks, what we're eventually presenting here is a much smaller data set through pandas based on the inquiry selected by our bidirectional choices. And by limiting that factor, no one can actually go directly to our data at that point. At best, they could pull the small sample size that we pulled for that particular request.
Other questions? These are remarkable questions that I would not be able to answer. I can attempt to repeat them, but that is about it. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Muse Dash. As we transition to our final demonstration, we would like to share additional information for those interested in applying to Zip Code. If you are excited about getting into a career in tech, consider our program. We accept applicants who can attend our program in person, as well as those who reside within our region. We have scholarships and stipends available for qualified Delaware residents. Please visit our website, zipcodewilmington.com, for more information and to learn about our program. We are accepting applications for our October cohort at the current time. For our final demonstration, we'd like to again introduce more graduates from our Java software developer group. This project, called ZipTube, is a video application library and social media platform using a tech stack of Java, Spring Boot, Bootstrap, AWS S3, and more. And again, at the end of the presentation, there'll be a QR code for folks online to go to see the GitHub and code developed by each team. Now, ZipTube.
Good morning. My name is Nathan Fintak, and prior to Zip Code, I worked at an inpatient psychiatric hospital.
My name is Isaac Mills-O, and prior to Zip Code, I worked in healthcare as a respiratory therapist.
Hello, I'm Gabriel Cruz. Prior to Zip Code, I was a field and event marketer. And today, we proudly present to you ZipTube, giving you a gateway to endless content. We developed ZipTube for creatives who want to share their moments, videos, and enjoy content that matters to them. ZipTube is a dynamic video sharing platform which lets you upload videos, store the content you like in your favorites, and interact with the video's creators and users by leaving comments on the videos. Now, whether you're a content creator or a casual viewer, ZipTube makes it easy to express, explore, and engage. For the front end, we designed ZipTube's UI using Canva, then implemented it using VS Code. Then we wrote the code in HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Bootstrap to work in a way where we can have simple and enjoyable experience for the users. We begin with our home page, which shows how the app will let non-users get a sneak peek of the experience they're in for. Then we give the viewer easy ability to sign up with their information. Now I will pass this over to Isaac, who will talk more about the login features.
Thank you, Gabriel. As a user, when you are logged in, you have additional options. Not only can you search by taglines and queries, but you can also like the videos that pique your interest. These like videos are then added to your favorites for easy access. With ZipTube, you can also upload your personal videos to the application so that you can share it with the online community. Using the Java Spring Boot framework, we created an API that fosters communication between the user interface and the server. The server returns a response to the request made by the client through a fetch call with specific parameters. ZipTube then verifies that the user is logged in and then returns a list of videos in accordance with the search parameters. It also updates the favorites and the like status. Spring Boot provides a streamlined process, enabling us to focus on the business logic of our application, such as building endpoints to get, upload, and add videos for an interactive user experience. Now, I'll pass it on to Nathan, who will talk about comments and storage.
Thank you, Isaac. Underneath the main video, we have a toggle for the comment section, where you can see other people's thoughts on the content and add your own comment if you'd like. For the sake of privacy and security, these features are only available to logged-in users. But if I wanted to add a comment to, let's say, this time-lapse that a friend of mine posted, all I would have to do is go to the box down here, add what I would like to share to the box, and press Post Comment button. Once the page is able to refresh, the comment will appear in the box below here. In terms of storage, the videos are stored as objects using AWS, specifically S3, which enables cloud storage. The videos are accessed using pre-signed URLs, which ensures that the program itself stays as lightweight as possible. Other information for the comments, users, and videos is stored using an H2 database. If you're looking for a vibrant community, I'd encourage you to check out Zip2. And as a sneak peek into version 2.0, we're looking at implementing an AI feature that provides additional search results based on key phrases, such as the hashtags that we saw before. At this time, we'd be more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Well, since you brought up AI, how did you use AI in developing this application?
Absolutely. So my experience using AI with this project mainly had to do with taking some of the higher level concepts that I was seeing in the documentation for S3 and getting a different explanation for it, essentially. At times when I was reading through the documentation, it felt almost like jumping right to the middle of a book. I was a little bit lost. And after I had exhausted a lot of time and resources with that, I eventually wound up using AI to get a bit of a summary on stuff that was still a bit unclear. I had also leaned on my fellow teammates and some of my instructors as well to get a more thorough picture.
In addition, I used it mainly when I had felt like I hit a brick wall. There were a couple times where we tried to implement something and realized that it wasn't working as we did. So I implemented that to be able to understand, and what came out of that, I realized that in JavaScript didn't respond as Java will respond to certain code that is written. So I ended up learning about JavaScript modules, which I believe is one thing that I really picked out from this whole project.
To add to that, in addition to it, so one particular API call when it had to do with videos was the put call. And in that put call, sometimes we refuse to change within the application we use called Postman. So I had to develop alternative solutions using AI to be able to help me solve the problems in the most quick and efficient time possible. So we'd have a leftover time in case other things were to happen.
Great. Questions from the audience? Yes.
So you mentioned the efficiency from an AI perspective, but obviously a group project, you also get to lean on your teammates. So maybe can each of you highlight something that you unlocked by tapping into the other members of the team that maybe would have taken you longer otherwise?
Can you highlight what you, tapping into other members of the team that would have taken you longer had you not done that?
Sure. The portion that I was working with the most, I would say, is the comment section, and there were several times when I was trying to sort out how to get the box to show up, much less get the comments to show up at times. Like Isaac had said, it felt like I was hitting a brick wall over and over again, so it was very comforting knowing that I could reach out to either of them at any time, and at one point earlier this week even, me and Isaac were essentially putting our heads together, and Gabe was chiming in with any perspective that was available, just brainstorming everything, trying to figure out where did this go wrong, where's the issue with it. And as it turned out, it was a couple lines of code.
Yes, similar to that. These two are very, when we talk about attention to detail, is what I appreciate from both of them. Gabe on the design aspect and Nate with the documentations. And one thing that I have picked is get better at reading the documentations, because the way Nate combs through documentations, it's an art on its own. And the way he can spot shifts in design work, especially with Canva and all this stuff, it's as an artistically challenged person, I appreciate it.
You know, speaking of artistically challenged, no, Canva was amazing to use, you know, from a design perspective. But the particular issue I ran into was the search function. When I was developing it through JavaScript, it was just a line or two of code, just like Nathan, where it just would not go in the search function when we would type it in, a particular video. And we tapped search, and it just would refuse to do it. I'm like, So I leaned on Isaac and Nate's intelligence to really help me bridge that gap and solve that problem. And we were able to successfully get the search function working.
Great. Other questions? Yes, Earl.
Just to dig deeper into Canva, it's always blowing my mind how people can create, I'm not a UI person, how people can create assets on Canva and turn them into like React components. Can you talk a little bit about what's involved in that process?
Sure.
So let me repeat for the audience. So can you talk about how you can take Canva assets and convert that into React?
Absolutely. So with Canva, you know, the first thing you want to do is really in your mind, pull it out of your mind. That's where it all starts at. So whatever creation you have in there, that's where it all starts from. And then, you know, what you want it to do is where you start using things like elements, known as like icons or background, how you want to color the background, how do you want the user to feel when you use this product, what's the experience you want the user to have. If they want to have an experience where you may want to ask questions or an experience where you want to keep it as simple as possible, known as KISS, keep it simple, silly. So I hope that answers your question.
In addition to that, transferring images or the design from Canva to actual code, I think the biggest challenge that we took with it was getting the UI to obviously look like what we adjusted. And like I said, I had the smallest contribution when it came to the design. Most of my contributions was like, yeah, that really works. I really like it over there. But when it came to the switch over, just understanding how the flow of JavaScript and HTML kind of meshed together helped a lot in bringing that to light. And so, again, leaning on the team and then putting our heads together, we were able to figure that out.
It was, I would say, a combination of Gabe's expertise with UI, figuring out what is the best way of catering this to the user with whatever background they may have, as well as Isaac had pointed out, bridging that gap between the visual design and how you plan to implement that with HTML and CSS. I will say for our project, we didn't specifically use React, but we did try to implement that earlier on in development. Eventually, it just became a matter of we're sinking a lot of time into figuring out S3. We're going to stick with CSS and HTML for the UI component.
With a dash of Bootstrap.
With a dash of Bootstrap. Just to add a little bit of glue between everything for that, yes.
Other questions? Yes.
Yeah, so I'm going to challenge you. You're working per customer once has a tight budget, and we'll call them cheap, all right, but they want to do it to 1,000 people. So H2, I don't know if this is true. H2 is not a strong enough database for that many customers. The library that you might be using in Java, you know, it has a security flaw. You found out late. And the company's so cheap, they don't want to pay for the license for Canva. What would each one of you do in that case if the requirements change based on business environment?
So when the requirements change based on the business environment, based on that hypothetical, what do?
If there's an issue in terms of budget, because from my understanding, that's what would be causing the last-minute change, correct?
Well, it could be right up at the
Partially.
front. You're familiar with the technology stack, but due to the customer and other business things, you have to pivot. And you said you did the storage, that's why I brought up the database thing. So if you had to go out and research a new database, what would you do?
Oh, as you just said, I would essentially jump right into research. If it was an environment like this, where there's multiple teams that are working on different projects possibly, I feel as though that would be a great opportunity for a scrum of scrums, kind of get everybody else's insight as well, just in case it's, as you said, tight deadline. I can't be wasting too much time diving too deeply into research. I want to make sure that I'm using the resources available to me to the best of my ability to make sure that whatever product I'm delivering is done in a timely manner, but also it's the best product that can be put forward in that time frame.
Also, as an agile team, taking any changes will be part of what the team does, adjusting on the fly and getting things to work. One of the discussions, excuse me, that we had was actually switching to MySQL, and for that same reason, H2 not being just lightweight, and if the demand went up, H2 might be cause of some challenges. So one thing we also talked about is, and we researched, was a MySQL database, and so we also kind of have that in the background, and it will be something that we'll be definitely willing to explore.
In addition to that, I would start by asking questions. Asking questions of what exactly is you looking for, then move on to, as Nate said, using some of the other partners that are around, pick their brains a little bit. But in addition to that, this is where AI comes in as well, because there are plenty of alternative art kind of apps out there. In fact, you can even use something as basic as Bitmap from Windows or Paint from Apple. It's a matter of taking the time getting versed from it. But if you need to work quick, that's where AI might come in and give you the best option based on that budget and needing it to be free, if you will, or need to do a trial run of that product to use it as quick as possible. We don't got time to waste, so we have to make it happen quick.
Okay. Other questions? All right, well, thank you so much, Zip2. So before final remarks, I want to mention that here with us today from our board is Michael Warthen, the technical advisor to the CEO of Microsoft. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Michael. So as we wrap up today's presentations, we want to extend a warm invitation to all employers here in person to please take the opportunity now to meet with our teams one-on-one. That's the best part, in my opinion. But ask questions, explore their code, learn about their training and skill sets, hear the journeys that brought them here. That's really cool. These conversations are where connections are made and careers are launched. For new and potential employers and recruiters online joining us today, we'd love to connect with you as well. Reach out to our team to learn more about our program and get introduced to our graduates and job-seeking alumni. Whether you're looking to fill entry-level software developer or data engineering roles, we have the talent ready to meet your needs. Please also like, subscribe, and join our social media outlets on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn to stay informed on what's happening at Zip Code and with our Zip Code graduates as they move into and onward in their careers. So thank you all again for being a part of this milestone moment. We're proud of what we built over the past 10 years and even more excited about what's ahead. Zip Code Wilmington trains our community to code because coding builds our community. Let's celebrate our students, our community, and the future of tech together.